Hey guys, tonight we're not going to stroll through marble forums or lounge in the opulent bathhouses of Rome. No, tonight you're going underground. Way underground. Into the slimy, stinking, rat-infested arteries of the Eternal City. That's right, you're clocking in as a Roman sewer cleaner, one of the most thankless, gut-churning jobs in history. You probably won't survive this shift, but hey, let's see how long you last. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always find it fascinating how many of you are night owls like me. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You duck your head as you step into the gaping mouth of the Cloaca Maxima, Rome's great sewer. It sounds grand, doesn't it? Cloaca Maxima. But the only thing Maxima, here is the stench that sucker punches you as you shuffle into the darkness. The air is thick, wet, and warmer than you'd like. You can practically feel it clinging to your skin, like the city's filth is already trying to claim you. Your feet squelch into the muck. There's no way to know if it's ankle deep or worse. Your torchlight barely pierces the gloom. You glance back at the narrow rectangle of daylight shrinking behind you. One step, two steps, and suddenly, Rome's sunlit marble is gone. You're in the empire's underbelly now, where grandeur doesn't matter. Down here, everything flows downhill. The Cloaca Maxima is an engineering marvel, they said. Historians still argue whether it was first built as a storm drain or a ceremonial river to appease water spirits. You don't really care. For you, it's a 2,000-year-old death trap that needs constant unclogging. Your shovel is a crude thing, wooden worn, with a blade that's seen more sludge than sunlight. You wedge it into a slow-moving pile of what you desperately hope is just mud. It isn't. The shovel sticks, and as you pry, a sudden bubble of gas bursts near your face. You gag. Sweet, merciful Jupiter, was that a whole fish head in there? But there's no time for squeamishness. The flow has to move. Rome doesn't care about your delicate nose. Above your head, the city roars with life. Chariots clatter over cobblestones, street vendors shout, and bathhouse guests laugh as they douse themselves with perfumed oils. None of them think about where their waste goes. You do. You think about it every day, especially when you're knee-deep in it. A rat skitters across your boot. You kick, but it's not phased. You're just another moving piece of the sewer's ecosystem. Rats, roaches, human waste, and you. All playing your parts. The torchlight flickers, reflecting off the damp stone arches. You wonder how many slaves, convicts, and poor freemen like you have trudged these tunnels. The Cloaca Maxima has been flowing for centuries. Historians can't even agree on who really built it. Was it the Etruscans? Early Romans? Does it matter? You're the one keeping it alive now, scraping blockages with a shovel that's older than you. Your shift supervisor, a grizzled veteran who claims to have worked the sewers since the days of Augustus, though he barely looks 30, told you this morning, keep the flow moving, or you'll smell worse than the job itself. Sound advice, you suppose, though not particularly inspiring. Your next task is unclogging a side tunnel. It's narrower, barely shoulder width. You twist your body sideways, holding the torch in one hand and the shovel in the other. Every step echoes, every drip sounds like a possible collapse. You'd laugh at how claustrophobic this is. If only your lungs weren't working overtime just to filter out the putrid air. You hear something behind you. Not a rat this time. A splash. You spin around, heart thudding. Maybe it's just the water shifting. Maybe. Sewer legends are a favorite among workers. Tales of lost convicts who turned feral, haunting the tunnels, stealing supplies. You don't believe them, of course. But you also don't stick around long enough to find out. There's a spot where the ceiling dips so low you have to crouch. As you bend, your shoulder brushes the slick stone. You'll need to wash that tunic later, assuming it doesn't just dissolve from the filth. Or maybe you'll burn it and call it a day. You finally reach the main blockage. It's a monstrous mound of sludge, tangled with what looks like straw rags and, is that a sandal? Somebody's had a rough night. You get to work, chipping away at the mass, feeling the resistance fight back. With every shove, the water level rises around your boots. You don't panic. Not yet. But you know the sewer doesn't like being disturbed. It's like waking a sleeping beast. You pause for a second, catching your breath. Above, people are debating politics in the forum, arguing about senators, tribunes, and who's bribing who. Down here, your world is simpler. Shovel, breathe, don't drown. And yet, there's a strange pride in this miserable work. No statues will be raised for you, no songs sung. But without you, Rome would choke on its own waste. Historians might not care, but every citizen walking on clean streets owes you their sandals. You give the blockage a final heave. It shudders, collapses, and a rush of water surges forward, almost sweeping you off your feet. You catch yourself, muttering curses that would make a Vestal virgin faint. The flow resumes. Crisis averted. For now. You wipe your forehead, though it doesn't make a difference. Sweat and sewer slime have already claimed you. And this was just the first task of the day. You trudge deeper into the tunnels, torchlight barely flickering ahead. The flow is moving again, but now the air feels heavier, warmer. Almost alive. You pause, noticing how your own breath fogs the space in front of you. That's the thing no one tells you about the Cloaca Maxima. It breathes. It sighs. It exhales centuries of rot right into your face. You try not to think about what's in the air. Spores, gases, things even Roman philosophers couldn't name. Galen could have written an entire scroll about sewer lung diseases, but somehow, it never made the bestseller lists. You pull a cloth over your mouth, though it's more for peace of mind than any real protection. The stench seeps through anyway, like an uninvited guest making itself comfortable in your nostrils. Every few paces, you hear faint splashes, not your own. Could be rats. Could be worse. You glance at the walls, noticing small carved niches where ancient lamps once burned. Historians still argue whether these were meant for lighting, or if they held offerings to sewer spirits. You'd light a candle to any god who could make this job easier. You press on, your boots now soaked through. The leather squelches with each step, making a sound that's equal parts comical and disgusting. At some point, your sense of smell starts to dull. Survival instinct, maybe. Or maybe your brain is just giving up. You come across a fresh deposit, likely from the upper-class insulae. Their tenants aren't fond of the public latrines, preferring to empty their chamber pots directly into the streets. Gravity does the rest. What goes up must come down. What goes down must be shoveled by you. The torch's flame wavers as you pass an opening above. A street-level grate. You look up, squinting at the sliver of sunlight. For a brief moment, you see a child peering down, tossing what you pray is just water. It isn't. You sidestep just in time, though your boot pays the price. You sigh, silently thanking the gods for small mercies. The rats seem more active here. You swing your shovel lazily, not really trying to hit them, just making it known this is your lane. They get the message, scattering into side holes. They'll be back. They always come back. You reach a wider chamber, known among cleaners as the pit. It's an unofficial break spot, if you can call leaning against a slime-coated wall a break. The chamber's vaulted ceiling echoes every sound, making drips seem like distant whispers. You lean back, closing your eyes for a moment. Above you, the Senate is probably arguing about grain prices. Down here, you're arguing with your stomach to keep its contents. A fellow cleaner's words echo in your head. Down here, it's not the smell that gets you, it's the taste. He wasn't wrong. The air is so saturated that you can feel it on your tongue. A bitter, metallic tang with undertones of yesterday's fish market. You chew a piece of dried fig to fight it off, though the fig seems to lose that battle instantly. You push off the wall and move towards a side channel. The water here moves sluggishly, forming lazy eddies that spin bits of debris like they're in no rush to go anywhere. You prod a floating bundle with your shovel. It unfurls to reveal a tangle of rags and hair? You don't want to know. Suddenly, a foul bubble bursts nearby, releasing a plume of gas that makes your eyes sting. You cough, stumbling back. This is what they call the sewer's kiss. Nasty, intimate, and unavoidable. Old-timers claim that certain gas pockets could knock a man out cold. You don't plan on testing that theory today. Your supervisor appears from a side passage, his tunic even filthier than yours. He's grinning, which is never a good sign. Shift's just started, friend. We've got a blockage near the market district, he says, handing you a fresh torch. Or what passes for fresh down here. You nod, though you're not thrilled. The market district's runoff is legendary among sewer workers. When the fishmongers, butchers, and vegetable sellers clean their stalls, it all comes down to you. A fragrant blend of scales, blood, and rotting produce. It's Rome's version of a fine perfume. If you're into that sort of thing, you follow him, your feet dragging as the air seems to grow thicker with every step. Up ahead, you hear the distant sound of gurgling water. It's not a good sound. Gurgles mean air pockets, blockages, or worse, collapsed sections. Your torch illuminates carvings along the wall, ancient graffiti left by workers centuries ago. Some are crude jokes, others are tally marks, possibly counting shifts or deaths. One drawing catches your eye, a stick figure with a shovel, standing victorious atop a rat. You chuckle. Some things never change. The tunnel narrows again, forcing you to crouch. Your back protests, and you wonder if this job has aged you 10 years and 10 days. The only consolation is that everyone smells equally terrible. No social hierarchy down here. As you inch forward, the gurgling grows louder. You round a corner and see it, a swollen pile of refuse blocking the main artery. It's pulsating slightly, as if breathing. A sewer heart, clogged with the Empire's leftovers. Your turn, the supervisor says, grinning. Of course it is. You wedge your shovel in and start prying. The mound resists at first, but you've learned its rhythm. Push, twist, lift. Repeat. It's like a grotesque dance routine. A few more heaves and the mound shudders, breaking apart. Water surges forward, splashing your legs and nearly knocking you off balance. You brace against the wall, muttering a sarcastic thank you to Cloacina, though historians still debate whether sewer cleaners actually prayed to her or just used her name as a curse. The flow returns to normal. For now, you lean on your shovel, catching your breath. The torch flickers again, its flame barely surviving in this damp underworld. You wonder if you'll ever smell anything pleasant again. Probably not. But the shift isn't over. Not even close. You lean on your shovel, pretending it's a noble staff, but it's hard to feel grand when it's dripping sewage onto your sandals. The tools of your trade are simple, brutal, and unforgiving, just like the job itself. Wooden shovels, iron hooks, and buckets. No fancy contraptions. Just blunt instruments to battle Rome's filth, day in and day out. The shovel feels heavier with every use. You wonder how many years it's been passed down from worker to worker. Historians still debate whether sewer cleaners had assigned tools, or if you simply grabbed whatever wasn't rotting away. Either way, you've named yours the Persuader. It persuades blockages to move, whether they want to or not. You check your belt pouch for the other essentials. A small clay vial of vinegar to dab under your nose. It barely masks the stench, but gives your senses something else to focus on. A strip of cloth to tie around your mouth. Not that it helps much. And a blunt iron hook, perfect for dragging out larger, more rebellious debris. Today, you're also carrying a patched-up leather water skin. Hydration is key, even if every sip tastes faintly of the sewer's ambience. Rome may be an empire of aqueducts, but down here, water isn't exactly pristine. Your supervisor jokes that sewer cleaners have the strongest arms and the weakest lungs in the city. You believe him. Every scoop of sludge feels like it takes a week off your lifespan. But then again, who's counting? As you swing the shovel into another pile, you think about how Rome's sewer system is praised in scrolls and speeches. Senators boast about its engineering genius. Yet none of them ever come down here. You do. You and the nameless army of cleaners who keep the marble facades from being swallowed by their own waste. A fresh load of debris sloshes into your bucket. You heft it up, muscles straining, and lug it to a disposal chute. The chute leads directly to the Tiber, which some poets call the river of life. You'd argue it's more of a liquid landfill. The day drags on, and your tools become extensions of your body. The shovel becomes your sword, the hook your shield, and the bucket. Well, the bucket is just a bucket. Glamorous, isn't it? You take a moment to wipe sweat from your brow, though the grime just smears. This is your life. Shovel, scoop, dump. Repeat. And somehow, the city above keeps celebrating itself, oblivious to the small army waging war beneath its feet. You hear it before you see it, the sluggish gurgle of a half-choked tunnel. It's coming from the section known as the gut. Every cleaner dreads the gut. It's a winding stretch where waste from Rome's busiest districts collects in a slow, miserable swirl. You trudge towards the sound, knowing this job isn't about winning. It's about not losing. The tunnel narrows, and your torchlight reveals a mess that defies explanation. Fruit peels, broken pottery shards, strips of fabric, and a suspiciously intact eel carcass. You stab the Persuader into the blockage, watching the muck shudder, as if offended by your audacity. Each scoop brings up layers of history. A discarded bulla pendant, perhaps once worn by a senator's child. Historians still argue whether sewer workers pocketed valuable finds or handed them over to officials. You chuckle, because you know the truth. Nobody sane would put their hand into that filth for a trinket. You pause to catch your breath, leaning against a damp wall. The ceiling drips rhythmically, like an ancient clock reminding you of your shift's slow crawl. The gut isn't just a place, it's a test of patience. And the sewer always wins. Another bubble bursts, spraying your face. You wipe it off with your sleeve, though it's more a symbolic gesture than effective cleaning. It's funny in a tragic way. Rome is obsessed with public image, yet down here, image dissolves into muck and anonymity. A fellow cleaner's voice echoes from a side tunnel, calling for help. You grab your hook and make your way over, ready for whatever fresh horror the gut has prepared. You find him waist-deep in a collapsed channel, struggling to free his leg from a tangle of broken amphorae and slimy reeds. His face is red from effort, his torch barely afloat nearby. You slide down, planting your feet in the muck, and offer him your hook. The sludge resists as you pull, sucking at his leg like a jealous lover. With a final heave, he stumbles free, nearly knocking you both into the filth. You share a brief, breathless laugh. Down here, humor's as vital as oxygen. The channel's collapse is worse than it looked. A fallen section of masonry has crumbled into the flow, creating a bottleneck. You know the drill. Blockages like this can flood entire districts if left unchecked. You start prying chunks of stone loose, working in rhythm. Each piece comes away reluctantly, as if the sewer itself is trying to hold on. The sludge around you churns, and soon, the water finds a new path, surging forward with a relieved gurgle. As the flow stabilizes, you spot something half buried in the debris, a small bronze figurine of Mercury. Historians still argue whether these were offerings to sewer gods or simply lost trinkets. Either way, you tuck it into your belt. A little luck never hurts. You and your fellow cleaner exchange a nod, an unspoken agreement that this isn't the worst mess you've seen today. But the shift is far from over. The next assignment takes you to a notorious section known among cleaners as the bathhouse drains. It's where excess runoff from the public thermae, baths frequented by Rome's elites, empties into the sewer. You brace yourself. Bathhouse runoff isn't just water. It's oil, hair, discarded lotions, and whatever else the highborn decide to wash off. The mixture clings to surfaces, creating a slick film that could turn solid stone into a skating rink. You crouch near a narrow grate, using your hook to fish out a tangled clump of hair. It comes away with a sickening slurp, revealing a mosaic of slime underneath. The stench here is oddly perfumed, a nauseating blend of floral oils and sweat. Above, you hear muffled voices, laughter and idle gossip. The elites enjoy their steamy soaks, blissfully unaware that just beneath their feet, you're battling the aftermath of their indulgence. You retrieve a rusted strigil, probably dropped by a careless bather. Another artifact for the unofficial sewer museum in your belt pouch. The work here is meticulous. You can't swing the Persuader freely. Instead, you kneel, scraping and scooping by hand. Your joints protest, your back aches, but the job gets done. The water begins to flow smoother, carrying away the filth you've wrestled free. You wonder, briefly, if the bathers above would feel so relaxed if they knew the price of their comfort. Probably not. You leave the bathhouse drains behind, muscles stiff but mind alert. The next stop is a section dubbed the vaults, an underground chamber beneath the old market, where runoff from meat stalls and fishmongers converges. The air shifts as you approach. It's colder here, but denser too, saturated with the scent of blood, brine, and rot. You lower your torch, revealing a slick, glistening floor covered in fish scales and bone fragments. The vaults are an echo chamber. Every drip, splash, and footstep magnifies, making you feel as though you're being followed. Historians still argue whether this area was intentionally designed to amplify sound, or if it's just the sewer playing tricks. You spot the blockage immediately, a swollen mass of fish guts tangled with wooden crates and burlap sacks. You dig in with the Persuader, the sludge giving way with reluctant squelches. As you work, you catch sight of faded graffiti on the wall. A crude drawing of a cleaner battling a monstrous eel. You chuckle. Some jokes, it seems, have been echoing down here for centuries. With one final heave, the blockage bursts, sending a wave of brine and slime rushing past your boots. You stagger, but stay upright. Victory, however small, is still sweet. You take a moment to breathe, the vault's oppressive air filling your lungs. Another job done, another day closer to, well, the same thing tomorrow. You emerge from the vaults, your boots squelching with every step, and head toward a section the old-timers ominously call the Whispering Arches. The reason becomes clear as soon as you step inside. The curved stone ceiling plays tricks on your ears, bouncing your own footsteps back at you in soft, murmuring echoes. It's unsettling, but you focus on the task at hand. The arches are notorious for trapping air pockets, which in turn trap gases from decomposing waste. One wrong move, and you could trigger a belch from the sewer that makes grown men gag and flee. You move slowly, using the Persuader to gently prod suspicious-looking bulges in the muck. The sludge here has a strange shimmer, like it's alive. Historians still argue whether the Romans intentionally designed these echo chambers for ventilation, or if it was a happy accident. As you nudge a blockage, a pocket bursts, releasing a gust that nearly knocks you off your feet. You gag, pull your cloth tighter around your face, and keep going. There's no retreating now. Among the debris, you find a child's wooden toy boat, bloated and waterlogged but still floating defiantly in a small eddy. You smile. Even in this underworld, remnants of innocence persist. You clear the last of the blockage, feeling the airflow shift as the tunnel breathes a sigh of relief. Another small victory. Another whisper swallowed by the arches. The next call takes you to the sinkhole, a lower chamber where a structural weakness causes recurring collapses. You approach cautiously. The floor here is a deceptive patchwork of solid-looking surfaces ready to crumble underfoot. You test each step, tapping with your hook. The ground groans in protest, but holds. You remember a cleaner from last month who wasn't so lucky. He fell waist-deep into a surprise pit of sludge and had to be pulled out with ropes. Today's task is to shore up the walls with temporary supports. You unpack a bundle of wooden braces, balancing them as you wedge them into place. It's a tedious, nerve-wracking job. Every creak from above feels like a countdown. You catch a glimpse of movement. A fat toad, thriving in this hidden ecosystem, watches you with indifference. Nature, it seems, always finds a way to adapt, no matter how foul the environment. A crack in the wall begins to widen as you work. You react instinctively, bracing it with a support beam just in time. The collapse halts for now. Historians still debate whether the sinkhole is a flaw in Rome's masterful engineering or simply the inevitable result of centuries of use. You're leaning towards the latter. Even marble cracks under constant pressure. You've barely finished stabilizing the sinkhole when you're summoned to a different kind of challenge, the Feast Hall Drain. This isn't its official name, of course, but every cleaner knows it as the place where banquet leftovers go to die. The air grows warmer as you approach. Feast days fill this drain with a unique concoction of wine-soaked bread, chewed meat scraps, and shards of broken amphory. The result is a fermenting stew that bubbles ominously. You lower yourself into the chamber, greeted by the sour-sweet scent of rot and spiced wine. You're not sure whether to gag or get drunk off the fumes. The blockage is a heaping mound of grape skins, fish bones, and what might once have been a loaf of honey cake. You jab the Persuader into the mess, watching it wobble like a bloated jellyfish. Every swing of your shovel stirs up memories of the city's excess. Up there, senators toast to prosperity. Down here, you shovel the after-party. A rusted spoon clinks against your shovel. You pocket it with a smirk. Another addition to your growing belt museum. Historians still argue whether sewer workers were considered a distinct caste or simply outcasts. You know the truth. Down here, you're both guardian and ghost, essential yet invisible. As the drain begins to flow again, you feel a surge of grim satisfaction. The feast may be over, but your cleanup never ends. You make your way to a section the veterans grimly nickname the Bone Alley. It's a narrow tunnel where butcher's runoff and temple sacrifice remains often clog the flow. As you enter, a sharp tang of iron fills your nostrils, the scent of dried blood and decay. The walls here are streaked with dark smears, evidence of countless offerings washed down from the altars above. You adjust your footing, careful not to slip on the slick floor littered with brittle bone fragments. Your task is to clear a blockage caused by a recent festival. Dozens of animal skulls and hide scraps have formed a grim dam. You use your hook to pry loose a goat's ribcage, only to have a gush of crimson-tinted sludge cascade past your legs. It's a messy job, but the sewer seems almost grateful as the flow resumes its sluggish journey. You pause to admire a curious find, a small votive figurine, perhaps lost during a hurried temple ritual. Historians still argue whether these were intentional offerings to sewer spirits or careless losses by priests. As you move deeper into Bone Alley, the echo of dripping water merges with the faint chant of a nearby temple ceremony. It's a surreal reminder of how close your world is to the sacred, yet how far removed you remain. The next assignment is a section few cleaners dare to tread alone: the Ratworks. It's an aptly named warren where the sewer's rodent population thrives, feasting on the city's endless waste. You steel yourself as you step in. The walls seem alive with scurrying silhouettes, and their eyes glint in your torchlight. You grip the Persuader tightly. It's not uncommon for a cornered rat to make a bold charge. Your job is to clear a collapsed side tunnel that's become a nesting haven. The blockage is a mix of collapsed stone, shredded fabric, and enough rat nests to make your skin crawl. You work methodically, aware of every twitch and rustle. A particularly bold rat perches on a stone ledge, watching you as if judging your technique. You nod back, a mutual respect of sorts. As you dismantle the nests, you uncover a surprising artifact, a bronze hairpin, intricately designed, likely dropped from a drain above. Historians still argue whether items like this fell by accident or were part of some forgotten ritual. With the blockage cleared, the rats retreat, disappearing into unseen burrows. You breathe a sigh of relief. In the ratworks, you're not just a worker, you're an intruder. After the tense ordeal with the rats, you're sent to a quieter, but no less grim, location known as the Ash Flume. Here, the runoff from Rome's countless bakeries, smithies, and hearths washes soot and ash into the sewers. The air is drier here, but heavy with fine particulate that sticks to your skin and clogs your throat. You wrap a cloth tightly over your mouth and proceed. The blockage is a dense mound of compacted ash, charcoal fragments, and half-burned debris. It feels different from the organic muck you usually battle, lighter but just as stubborn. You shovel with care, aware that sudden movements could stir a choking cloud. The soot clings to everything, painting you in shades of gray. Among the debris, you find a warped iron nail, likely from a collapsed kiln. Historians still debate whether sewer maintenance was scheduled after major festivals or only when the filth overflowed. Judging by the state of the ash flume, you suspect the latter. Clearing the blockage takes time, but eventually, a sluggish stream of ashy water begins to trickle through. You take a moment to appreciate the eerie beauty of the scene, the blackened tunnel shimmering like a starless night sky. You've barely caught your breath when you're called to the market spout, a junction where runoff from Rome's bustling forums converges. It's a chaotic mix of vegetable peels, wilted herbs, and discarded market refuse. The air here is surprisingly fragrant compared to other sections. Overripe fruit, crushed mint, and the sharp tang of vinegar-soaked olives. You wade into the muck, the Persuader slicing through layers of soggy bread and cabbage leaves. The blockage is a hefty one, a compressed bale of rotting produce entangled with wicker basket fragments. As you work, you uncover a small, hand-carved tablet with faded merchant symbols. Historians still argue whether sewer cleaners occasionally found valuable lost trade records, or if such finds were mere flukes. Clearing the market spout feels like dismantling a history lesson, every layer revealing a story of Rome's daily hustle. You reflect on how the city's prosperity trickles down, quite literally, into your realm. With a final shove, the blockage gives way, and a flood of colorful, mushy debris rushes onward. You stand back, watching the vibrant stew swirl into the darkness. Word count, 1060. Your final task of the day brings you to the outflow gate, a massive stone arch where the sewer empties into the Tiber. It's a place of both endings and beginnings, the city's waste merging with the river's endless current. The area is partially exposed to daylight, casting a silver sheen over the water. It's almost peaceful, if you ignore the flotilla of filth drifting by. Today's job is to clear a driftwood dam that's lodged itself against the grate. You wade into the current, bracing against the river's pull as you hack at the tangled mess with the Persuader. Among the debris, you spot familiar artifacts, a broken amphora, a torn sandal, and a small wax tablet with illegible scribbles. Each piece tells a silent story. Historians still debate whether sewer outflow points were considered sacred purification zones or simply necessary evils. Standing here, soaked and sore, you're inclined to believe both. With the blockage finally freed, the water surges, carrying the city's refuse toward the sea. You watch it go, a silent witness to the endless cycle. As you climb back to the surface, the city's sounds grow louder, vendors shouting, carts rattling, life continuing. And yet, you carry the underworld with you, invisible to those above. You step out into the fading light of dusk, leaving the cloaca's depths behind. The city feels surreal after a day spent in its bowels. The forum's marble pillars gleam in the sunset, a stark contrast to the grime that still clings to your skin. You find a quiet spot on a stone bench, letting the evening breeze wash over you. The background hum of distant voices and rustling leaves replaces the echo of dripping tunnels. You stretch your legs, feeling the ache settle into a familiar, almost comforting throb. You did your part today, unseen yet essential. As the city winds down, so do you. Your eyes trace the curve of the Tiber as it snakes away into twilight, carrying away the remnants of Rome's bustling day. The sky fades to a soft indigo, stars beginning to blink awake. You close your eyes, breathing in the mingled scents of river water and fresh-baked bread from a nearby stall. The world above may never fully acknowledge the world below, but you know its worth. Tonight, you'll sleep deeply, the kind of sleep earned through honest toil. Tomorrow, the sewers will call again. But for now, you let yourself drift. The city rests. You rest. Sweet dreams. And somewhere, beneath it all, the Persuader stands ready.